Now this is the first stage of our trip to Fiordland, crossing Lake Manapouri to West Arm. And of course West Arm is the site of the underground power station. So from West Arm we will take a bus over the Wilmot Pass to a Doubtful Sound where we'll connect with the boat. There we are, there's Doubtful Sound. Doubtful Sound from the top of the Wilmot Pass. Now we're on the Breaksea Girl and we're heading out through the heads into the open sea to go down to Preservation Inlet. Now we're approaching the heads of Doubtful Sound to go out into the sea. We're a wee way off here. We've travelled from Doubtful Sound down to the bottom of the South Island. We're at the bottom of the South Island in Preservation Inlet, heading to Puysegar Lighthouse. We're heading over to that building there, which we're going to land there and head to Puysegar Lighthouse. And the building is called the Puysegar Landing Shed. And we're just being landed off the boat. These were some graves that we found at the shore when we landed. Unfortunately, most of the people drowned. That's a wee grave site at Puysegar Bay. Now we're on the track heading to the lighthouse. Sea caves and what have you. There's the open sea out there. The Tasman Sea. There's the lighthouse we're heading to. Puysegar Point. So we're getting closer to the lighthouse.
Out here, oh no, starting out here, we'll work our way right around. How's that? So out there on the left hand side is Coal Island, one of the many islands that's was worked for gold, and then the faraway distant point, the way up to the northern, heading up north, Gulch's Head. The closer one is Cavern Head, which we'll be visiting later on today. Then panning around quietly to the right, at the Cording Islets, where in the early days the steamers here used to get timber off those for stoking their boilers, you know, cords of wood. Hence the Cording Islands, and then if you pan right around again about 90 degrees and look over the bow, you'll see that we are heading toward another opening, and that is Isthmus Sound, where there's silver mining. That's what we're visiting now. And panning on again another 90 degrees, you can see the entrance to a place called Useless Bay, which runs into the beginning of Long Sound, which is now a marine reserve, and it's underwater a very exciting place because the deep water emergent species come closer to the surface there than they do anywhere else on the planet, including the other parts of Fiordland. So a very special place.
these were little blue penguins. They're a long, long way off, but they're quite rare around here.
Do they always keep together like that?
Yeah, they usually send a bunch. Who wants another go?
Cock-up sits Dunkirk took place right here when they were putting a shaft down, fairly close to the sea. When somebody must have got a wee bit ambitious with the amount of explosive they used, and they cracked it. They cracked the rock right through to the ocean. So that was the end of that idea. Like, you can't pump out the sea. It's just a wee bit difficult.
So we're going to land here and see where they built a silver mine.
Bits, not the high bits.
This cave or hole was blasted out to contain the fire for the furnace, but of course they made a mess of the whole thing and split the rock. That's the cave we were in, down there.
Stop rusting out altogether.
Oh boy.
Great time, isn't it? I went to Christchurch and I realised it not quite.
Now we're heading back to the boat. So we're in Isthmus Sound, and because the whole area is preservation inlet. That's Isthmus Sound. Now we're in the small boat, outboard boat again.
Don't know how successful it was, but there was a hell of a lot of drives put in off the side of the creek, so I would assume that they must have been getting enough to at least keep them excited, then, so many.
Fiordland around yesterday was marvellous to see, and the colours too. Nice colours. Wow. Good.
We're looking here at Spit Island.
They're all gone now. You know what that is? And they don't put.
Spit Island is in Preservation Inlet. Now I'm on a different beach and we're looking at the Boatsy Girl and Spit Island. All those rocks on it. Bit of rock sculpture there. We're heading out to sea. It's a rock away out at sea there. Now these cliffs are on Chalky Island in Chalky Inlet. The uninhabited island was cleared of pests and predators to provide refuge for a number of rare creatures, including the kakapo, a large green flightless parrot endemic to New Zealand. Now we have left Preservation Inlet and travelled to Dusky Sound, which is about 45 kilometres by boat. Now we're leaving Cascade Cove at 9 o'clock in the morning. And of course Cascade Cove is in Dusky Sound. So this is Cook's Creek.
Yeah, you got him now? Sea perch, drop short. Not about how fish makes a living, or other animals too, actually. If you, sorry, did I get you thought? If you think about it, you know, that's a short, squat fish. Yeah. So that's Cook's Creek.
Wonderful, isn't it? Isn't it lovely? Yeah.
So now we're going to look where Captain Cook came in with the Endeavour and tied his ship up here.
Right.
So that is where they landed, down there in Puysegar Harbour. And the site up here is called Astronomer's Point. Here we're looking at an albatross out at sea. Now this area is called Many Islands. The two birds on the right are spotted shags. Now we're looking at young seals and a seal nursery.
Lots of people, when they see seals start barking, you might as well bark at a horse. Seals don't bark. Sea lions bark, but seals don't bark. But as you can hear, there are many of them. That's a young one calling to me. That's Jim. Yeah. They will if you drink it.
Just like kids, aren't they?
I would imagine 2025, but I don't know. They put blindfolds on a sea lion, which is, you know, close relative to these guys, in a captive situation, and released a fish because they were trying to figure out how sensitive the whiskers of the sea lion was, because they have over 3,000 sensors in each whisker. And this sea lion was following the fish by its wake through the water. Blindfolded. That's a robin up here.
It's not a bellbird, I was just going to say that.
Oh, and that's a bellbird.
What if
You hear kakariki here. Those of you who want to, you can have a walk here. This is Anchor Island.
birthday parties? I was thinking of asking him to my 70th.
You should.
I will.
He's a nice guy, eh?
Yeah. Retired now.
Yeah. You don't know the
With
background
Dom?
story? Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, I do.
So this is one of the places we snorkel. Or someone else is using it. Can you keep up? Lovely, isn't it? It's very cool for me to be here. Look, sure do.
Look at that, look at that. Oh no, we can't come
Yeah,
yet.
that's cool. We'll probably be about 10.
Make it 20.
Yeah, they're saying 20, but we'll try and make it quarter of an hour.
We're a hard lot to please, aren't we? No, just stay right there, stay right there. Actually, no, we're going to capsize. I know, just stay there, Ken. Oh, he's seen
I
it.
nearly got the idea.
Kiss. So we're now entering Luncheon Cove, where Captain Cook had his lunch. Well, he did. But it's not a great area, a big area, just around here. There you go. And that's the entrance to Luncheon Cove. Just come through, which we'll go back out again.
Black hole. It'll be worth it.
What am I doing?
Repeating what the black hole's about, please.
The Black Hole is the site of the first European boat to be built in New Zealand. There is a plaque there you can see maybe on the rock on the right hand side, which actually talks about it also being the site of the first European house in New Zealand, which is nearly right but not quite, because in fact the first European house was built on that ridge just there in Australasia of native timbers. We took them down to the Invercargill Museum. Who's recording this? And they said, all you naughty boys removing artifacts, thank you very much. But they're quite right, you shouldn't remove them. But again, you can see they were just, and I'm glad I did, because these are all broken, there's not a single whole one left.
What did he use it for?
Photography.
No, the oven.
This is
This is his chimney fireplace for his house. He had a house here, which was built sensibly, as everybody did, the Maori people as well, on the top of the ridge, so the water drains away both sides. And remembering, of course, you have to have water. Well, there's water just down here at a creek, and this is a peninsula, so if it's rough on that side, he could bring his boat around this side, where there's a lovely beach down here. Very well placed place. And given that he was here for several years, that was quite a priority for him. And the reason Richard Henry came here, do you all know that score? Came here to try and save the birds. This is the remains of Richard Henry's bird pen. Isn't that incredible? It survived all these years with a little bit of help from Doc and one or two others. Here, then you can kind of gently tease that out without doing too much damage and stop it becoming a big tree, because if it becomes a big tree then it's all gone. This lovely little tree growing here is a mountain cabbage tree, cordyline indivisor. And it's a really lovely example of one. They're usually sort of a bit more tattered because they're not so protected. So it's a beautiful example, self-sown, and what a lovely memorial tree for Richard Henry, who obviously for me is an absolute hero. Right up there with Edmund Hillary and our other famous people. This guy really put it out for conservation, really put it out for our birds. And it all came to a kind of a broken-hearted stop when somebody saw stoats swimming onto the islands that he put the birds on. Having said that, there are still islands here now which have kiwi on them, which are down to Richard Henry. Long Island, Pigeon Island, Parrot Island. So there we go. Now that obviously would have had to have netting on it of some sort, otherwise the kakapo would have just come straight back out over the top. The silver tree fern is not south of the Haast, not north of the Haast somewhere, is as far south as it comes. But we have the soft tree fern with a skirt, we have the hard tree fern without a skirt, and we have the black tree fern or mamaku, which is by far the biggest of them. This is actually only a baby, but already you're starting to see an idea of the length of those fronds.
Say them again.
Soft tree fern, I remember it's soft feminine skirt, male, rough as guts, no skirt, and mamaku, black. Well, it is black.
And it really is black.
This is on Pigeon Island.
Oh, I'm actually quite pleased I didn't see it.
Still on Pigeon Island.
Catch you later.
Drapes and things, that's what I like.
No, it's just getting constructed though.
Where the forest isn't, and it's bare rock with just a bit of stuff starting to recolonise on it. That's the evidence of a slip which occurred in 2003 when we had a big earthquake. 7.2, I think, if I remember right. So it's a constant ongoing thing. You can see how much of that island
I just saw the head move, but I knew it was
everybody enjoyed it for a while. That's right.
Now these cormorants were large birds, web feet birds, which could actually land in trees. We're now in Gear Sound. We're anchored here. We're going up a small river here, not far from the bait, and we'll have a look at the wildlife and the vegetation up here.
And I'd like you to know that these are sort of organic.
Here you go. Into your mouth. No, you have some.
They don't have the paperwork. Anybody more? Anybody else?
Someone else take some back for Tracy.
Trying out some berries here.
Come on up, come on up.
Oh,
Now this was a stick insect that lived on the remu tree, and here it is in Lance's hand. That is the branch he took the insect off, and he will put it back.
That is a really good bird for him for now. Flock of brown beavers over here.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Sit on that.
yeah, I would too. Quite bad.
We've gone up a small creek here running off the river. Now we've found a waterfall that the skipper says he's the only one that knows it's here in the forest, hidden away.
Sorry? I think it's a prison.
As you can see here, we had a fall of snow last night, so the snow is on the mountains all around us, dropping the temperatures a bit.
It's a Lancelot mountain. Guinevere.
Might have to invoke the old.
Lance was attempting to feed some eels here with chopped up liver, but unfortunately the eels didn't turn up.
Like that, and come back into the secondary growth stuff, like that, and then finally back into Silver Beach again, and just keep repeating that program, Silver or Mountain Beach. You see the tree up there that's fallen on its side, leaning over? Look at the root pattern. The moss is on top of the roots, which is pretty obvious when you think about it, but you can see that it's absolutely like a saucer. And of course it's like a saucer because it's growing on that rock face there, which is ice-worn and smooth, and it doesn't have any oxygen. So people talk about 6 inches of topsoil on these faces, and I believe that that's in fact an exaggeration. So it's not hard to imagine when 1 or 2 trees lose their hold, they're just likely to take everything through them, everything with them, down to the valley floor or the fjord, depending on the...
We're looking here at a wood pigeon.
That gets their attention though. Pigeon. Yep, it does. Has a little white flower, beautiful scent. Flowers about Christmas time.
Here they come. Here we go.
Now we're looking at a pod of dolphins. I think there was over 60, we were told, in the pod. A young one with its mother. Here's a baby. Here we pass some kayakers. So we came up from Dusky Sound last night and we arrived in Doubtful Sound round about 11 o'clock last night. It was a rough trip coming up with 5-metre waves out in the ocean. We are in Hall Arm of Doubtful Sound. And up here, right up there, is Commander Peak.
Like the wood is still going well.
Who's hungry? You go. How hungry are you?
That's a rock wall and a half.
Oh, Shirley, I've got a crick in my neck. Can you do something for it?
Thank you, just look at this whole house parking off the street.
We're watching the water coming out of the bush and cascading down these cliff faces into the fjord. The skipper is turning the engines off so we can hear the water falling into the fjord.
Right. Poison it, it's come back. Oh God, you see the sound.
Someone picked choosing which colour you want in the bathroom.
That is an alpine fault there, opened up by a previous earthquake.
Had to come back to Gore again.
Yeah, they're going to go round and round in circles.
We hope you find the scenery adequate.
Oh, it'll do.
It'll do at a push. We'll sit out here, whichever makes your eyes good. And lunch should be ready in about 10 minutes. Up that little gap there.
Is that the third one?
Yeah.
Right.
The first one was built on the
Lakeside.
The next one.
Arriving back at Deep Cove.
It's pretty substantial.
The two tunnels that carry the water from the underground powerhouse exit into Deep Cove. So that's Deep Cove. Now we're on the way back over the Wilmot Pass.
We see red netting somewhere, and the seagulls were actually on red netting on buildings, but it didn't look right. There's all old buildings with red netting.
A wee bit of snow on the sides of the road.
What is it, Morris? Can I ask? A tonka.
Just tangible. Yeah, it was a sunny day. Well, we're moving though. It seems like the grass is stuck on his feet. Is it a hooky?
Yeah.
The Venus, the heater on. He's pulling his toes up.
Well, it's a free ride down to Manapouri.
Is he trying to see the
Did you get
bed
a
you've
photo,
got
Tracy?
here?
Sorry? Did you get a photo? Yeah. But I got more of a photo. Who are you guys looking at?
All our bumps in the air.
Well, I think you've got the demister on and he's...
It's lovely.
That's fine.
Nice.
Really big tree. Blow the room up past. Go that way too.
That is the wonderful tree there. And now when you're finished with the tree, you turn around and look the other way and you see the pepper tree forest there.
So there are deer.
The pepper tree forest has been caused by deer eating the young trees as they come through the ground, and there's nothing left after they're finished.
That's not the Mizipterus.
Okay. Similar?
No, it's a
No.
liverwort.
Oh, okay.
British. They were first came out about 1964 and they were used in trucks and double-decker buses and also boats, obviously. All the liquid in this boat is through the middle in keels, in the keel, right through the boat from one end to the other, except from here in the engine room. If we hold the engine room, then the sea would come in, but everywhere else it's tanks. So there's 2 diesel tanks down aft, and then 2 water tanks, and then the silage tank up forward, and then forward of that again is the last of the diesel tanks. So to get diesel for the motors, we have to pump it up out of the keel. Electric pump does that up here into the day tank. If that pump failed, we've got a hand pump. And then from there, the fuel gravity feeds down through a Raycor 2020 filter to the gallery, splits to the 2 engines, and splits again under my feet because that wee heater there's a diesel heater. The numbers for the fuel, I work on about 11 litres an hour. So it's slightly less than that for the main engine at my normal revs, which is really, really good for a big old boat like this. And I wouldn't change that engine for anything except a brand new one exactly the same. But I've done as close to that as I can already. It was, that motor was actually in a boat on Lake Tiana. It was a real Journeys motor. And their boat was 99 years old. And it couldn't pass survey anymore, so they took this out and stuck it in storage, and I knew about that, so I pounced on it. So to get the engines out of here, you've got lifting eyes here above the engine, with chain blocks here, just under all the auxiliary gear, lift your engine up, put big beams underneath, rollers, roll it out through this partition here, which just unbolts, underneath the skylight, which just unclips, grab a crane or a helicopter, depending where you are, in our case a crane. And out she goes. It took one good engineer and one fumbling labourer, namely me, a week to change them over. Both of these engines are keel cooled. So what happens is the water, this is just like a radiator in a car. The water runs through the engine taking the heat, passes out through a pipe to the outside of the hull. That hull is in contact, that pipe is in contact with the sea, which sucks the heat away from it, and then the pipe goes up and down and then comes back in here again with the cool water. It's a really good system. It costs you a little bit of speed and it doesn't look pretty. And when I say it costs you a little speed, I mean I really don't know, but it's probably like 1/10 of a knot or something. So it's no big deal at all, but the gains are huge. You don't have to worry about twigs, leaves, mud. Plastic bags are a big problem in some places now, blocking up intakes, and so are jellyfish. They can be quite nasty as well. So it just because it's just a sealed system, it just takes away all of those dramas. The whole boat was actually built with the KISS principle in mind. You all understand the KISS principle? Keep it simple, stupid. So nothing fancy, nothing you don't need, just the bare basic gear. There's a wee fire extinguisher here which has got a wax plug in it, and the wax plug obviously would melt if it gets too hot, and this would discharge without me even knowing that there's been a fire here. The main flooding system comes in through these copper tubes, and it's activated manually outside that bulkhead. A bulkhead is a wall on a boat, this a deckhead is a ceiling. It comes in through these pipes here, and we just completely flood the engine room, but of course that's a last ditch action, because you obviously can't use your engine, everything's got to be shut down when you do that. Big battery box underneath you there, 2 banks of batteries which go through a big switch up there on the bulkhead, and that isolates one bank from the other. And as you've probably picked, I'm having problems with my electrics at the moment. I don't know what's happened, but we had a big blow up on the inverter battery charger. It absolutely shattered a really big heavy fuse. I mean, like blew it apart. And I wasn't on the boat at the time, so I don't know what happened, I don't know how it happened, and I don't know where else it's reached. But I'm having all sorts of trouble keeping charging my batteries now, so it's going to wait until I've got one more trip to do, and then the boat will finish in Bluff, so I'll get the experts to come over it when I'm down in Bluff.
So that way you turned the engine on last night?
Sorry? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because normally I don't have any problem with that. Even if both those batteries go down, it doesn't matter, because this one here has its own battery. So I could start this one up, and it would go through, and the sensors in the battery charger would say, oh, okay, these batteries are down, and just fire it in. So I don't have to worry about it. But that's not working as a battery charger at the moment, and I don't know why. I mean, I got it back. It's only came in just before we started this trip. So it's been away. It was away for about 2 months, and it's come back, and it's not functioning properly. If I send that out, they'll say the problem's somewhere else on the boat. I've been through all this drama before, so we'll just have to make do with it until we get down to Bluff. And then there's no running away from it. 4 bulkheads in the boat, watertight bulkheads, one there which goes to the after cabin through that door, this one which you just come through, the one you step through when you go into the bathrooms, and forward of that there's a crash bulkhead which has no access. And unlike the Titanic days now, when they do a watertight bulkhead they actually run it all the way to the deckhead, whereas in the old days they just, for some reason, they used to only take them up so far, and then once, if the boat went down by the bow or the stern and got enough angle on it, then the water would come from that compartment over the top and into the next one and just feed its way down the boat. So they don't do that anymore. They're not exactly watertight, mind. I mean, there's still plumbing fittings and electrical fittings and so on running through there which are not watertight, but it will certainly reduce the flow of water to something which your pump can easily handle. The freezer is driven off the main engine. This is the compressor for that, and the bits and pieces for the freezer are actually there on the board, and there are 2 valves there, and with those we can squeeze the gas down so that we've got one of them running as a freezer and the other one running as a fridge.
Is the freezer under Shirley's bunk?
Yes.
Is that the freezer?
Yeah. And that's about it.